Good morning, everyone, and happy Friday to you. Welcome to this edition of Balance in Life. I am Crystal Tyler Mackey. Happy to host this session on behalf of Virginia Cooperative Extension, the Human Development Program team, and our partners, North Carolina Cooperative Extension. We are looking forward to another dynamic, growing is what I'll call it, conversation with Alan Rasmussen, who's going to talk with us today about building inner strength. And so we invite you to, sit back, listen, think about some, nuggets that you're going to want to take away from this session. And if you're new to Balance in Life, welcome. We're so happy to have you. If you, have come back for a second or multiple time, welcome back. We have a great community here, and we like to engage with one another even during the sessions in the chat box. And so just a quick lift up, we use a platform here called Zoom Webinar. And so when you are posting in the chat, if you do nothing, the only people who will be able to see your great questions or posts or chats are those of us whose pictures you see on the screen: Bethany Eigel, Alan Rasmussen, myself, and when Herman Macklin is available, our co-host. So if you want others to see, you're welcome. Welcome from your snowy, icy place, like where I am. It's snowy and icy and everything's closed. Then you'll want to use the drop-down menu that says all panelists and attendees, and then everyone on can see your great thoughts and ideas. But you have to make that choice intentionally by choosing the drop-down menu, which we hope you do because it's a great community to be engaged with. We always look forward to these Friday mornings. So having said that, welcome. And I am going to turn this over, sit back, and take notes from my friend, Alan. Welcome back, Alan.
Hey, I'm excited to be with all of you today, especially in partnership as we work together to make a positive difference in the lives of others. I mean, this is the way to get it done, and I love being here with you. I'm going to do a short introduction for those that may not know me, and then I'm going to move right into the presentation today on building inner strength. But my name is Alan Rasmussen. I am a prevention specialist with Rappahannock Rapidan Community Services based in Culpeper, Virginia. The focus of my prevention work is on suicide prevention and substance abuse prevention. I also work as a professor for the Bachelor of Interdisciplinary Studies program at the University of Virginia. I've been working there since 2002, teaching several criminal justice courses. I was just told the other day, and I'm excited about this. I'll share it with you. I'm going to be doing in the fall a mental health course. So I'm very excited about that. I am also Board of Counseling licensed as a qualified mental health professional, able to work with adults and children. And I work for National Counseling Group as a community counselor. So today I am doing a presentation entitled Building Strength. This presentation is part of a training series I do about building resilience, and in which I talk about characteristics and qualities of resilient people, qualities and characteristics that anyone can develop using the information I am providing. Now, keep in mind, resilient individuals do have solid self-esteem and solid self-confidence. If you feel like you do not, please do not worry. I'm going to talk about ways in which you can improve your self-esteem and self-confidence, and as a result, build your inner strength or help others do the same through the work you may be doing with them. So give me 1 second. I'm going to pull up my PowerPoint presentation, which I know Crystal is going to provide to you later if you're interested in it. So I like question marks because you're always asking why and that kind of thing. But a couple of questions here. What makes some people emotionally stronger than others? And why do some people crumble under pressure and others do not? I'm not looking for answers right now. If you want to put something in the chat box, that's fine. But these are just questions for you to think about. I know we see people and know people that fit into either of these categories. And you know, the difference is actually trace down to three inner strengths, and that's self-esteem, self-confidence, and self-concept. These three selves, as I call them, control your access to a broad range of personal talents, abilities, and attitudes that can influence how you cope with difficulties. Now, if you've heard my resiliency presentation, we do talk about, controlling emotional reaction patterns, trying to put your feelings on the table, but definitely working to get to a point where you start to cope with any adversity, any situation that's going on, and do this in a healthy way through healthy coping strategies. So self-esteem, affects how you feel about yourself. Self-confidence affects how you act under pressure. And self-concept affects how you think about yourself. Now, when your inner selves are strong, positive, and healthy, you are highly resilient. When they are weak or undeveloped, you are vulnerable, do not cope well, and are less resilient. So I want to take a second here and share this with you. Our self-esteem typically develops and evolves through our lives as we build an image of ourselves through experiences with other people and through involvement in various activities. Experiences in our childhood likely play a large role in the development of our basic self-esteem. When we are growing up, our successes and failures, as well as how we are treated by members of our immediate family, teachers, coaches, religious authorities, and by our peers, all contributed to the creation of our basic self-esteem. So childhood experiences that can lead to healthy self-esteem can include, being praised, being listened to. I mean, I'm going to tell you that being listened to is a big trigger for people I work with, because a lot of times they don't feel like anybody's hearing them. They don't listen to what they say. And think about that, how that affects them, anyone, emotionally and mentally, to not feel like you're being heard. But to be heard is so positive. It's empowering. Being spoken to respectfully, getting attention and hugs, experiencing success in sports or school, and having trustworthy friends. Now, I know if you go back to some of the resiliency work we've been doing, these healthy friends are a characteristic that resilient people have, and being able to develop healthy relationships and communicate with people are all part of being resilient. And so this in early childhood can help people move in that direction. Now, some of the experiences that can lead to low self-esteem include being harshly criticized, being yelled at or beaten, being ignored, ridiculed, or teased, being expected to be perfect all the time, experiencing failures in sports and or school. Now, some indicators of poor self-esteem. I want to talk about these, but before I do it, I want to share a little other information. I want to talk about what's called the inner voice. Our past experiences, even things we do not usually think about, remain alive and active in our daily life in the form of what I call an inner voice. Most people do not hear this voice in the same way they would as if someone were speaking to them, but it can act the same way by constantly repeating those original messages to us. For people with healthy self-esteem, the inner voice provides messages that are positive and reassuring. For people with low self-esteem, this inner voice can be a harsh inner critic, constantly criticizing, punishing, and belittling our accomplishments. I encourage you to always recognize this inner voice if it's working within you. And I know ways that you can challenge this inner voice, but to take an active role within yourself to challenge it and not let it affect the way you think or feel about yourself. Now, some indicators of poor self-esteem, low self-esteem: constant negative thinking or feeling low for no reason, shyness or embarrassment in public, fear of public speaking, feeling bad about the lack of something in your life, money, relationship, job, anxiety or fear of something in the future, an addiction or dependence on food, drugs, alcohol, people, or on spending money. Social paralysis, an example of being in public or and not knowing what to say, feeling very uncomfortable about that, is shut down. Relationship conflicts, arguments, or changes in the relationship dynamics. Constant negative comparison of yourself to others is a big one. And lack of control over emotions, outbursts of anger, tears, or anxiety. When I read that, I immediately go back to that emotional reaction pattern chart. So when you're working with people or interacting with someone, if they constantly get angry or they seem to shut down and cannot just open up and talk, there's something going on there, and it's something to look at: self-esteem, self-confidence, or other issues. So consequences of low self-esteem can create anxiety, stress, loneliness, and an increased likelihood actually of depression. It can cause problems with friendships and relationships. It can seriously impair academic and job performance. Low self-esteem can also lead to underachievement. It can increase vulnerability, like we mentioned earlier, to drug and alcohol abuse or other addictions. Benefits of having a positive self-esteem and confidence: you believe in yourself. You give yourself the credit you deserve. You don't mind saying, hey, you did a good job there, and this whole pat yourself on the back. You earn respect of others. You experience personal happiness, fulfilling relationships, and achievement in all areas of your life. Now, when you look at self-esteem, another definition can be your emotional opinion of yourself. So self-esteem can control how you feel about yourself. It can also help you in many ways. It protects you from feeling hurt by harmful criticism. I mean, picture this: if I have good self-esteem and someone says something critical of me or hurtful, I can easily bounce that off of what I think of myself, what I feel about myself. And if there's something to it, maybe I'll change the way I interact or something about myself, or otherwise I'm going to say, hey, I disagree with that. I don't think I'm that way. And so you can keep moving forward and bounce things off of you. Self-esteem, I like this statement here: it makes up the gap between compliments you receive from others and what you need to sustain yourself psychologically. Interesting thought there. Self-esteem, confidence, and concept, these determine how much you learn after something goes wrong. I've mentioned this in my resiliency presentations. But if a lot of times when something goes wrong that you're trying to do, and if I have low self-esteem or low self-confidence, I'm going to not think about it. I want to forget about that, and I'm missing an opportunity to learn something new. What could I do different? How could I do it better? If I have high self-esteem, I'm likely going to go that route. Hey, I'm not going to beat myself up. What can I do better? What went wrong? Let's fix this. Let's make it better. But with low self-esteem, people don't feel that good about themselves, so they don't like it when things don't work out. They want to move forward and they miss that opportunity to learn from something that may have failed. So these allow you to receive compliments and praise. Please keep in mind, I think you can picture this. If I have low self-esteem and Crystal or Bethany were to say, hey, you did a good job on that presentation today, my inner voice is likely going to say, what are they talking about? I can't see that. I don't see how that could be. So when I have good self-esteem, I'm going to appreciate that and say, hey, thank you, and I appreciate you making a point to say that. They are a buffer against hurtful statements, and they do make you receptive to constructive criticism. Instead of feeling like I'm being attacked, I'm willing to listen to somebody and say, hey, maybe I'll learn something here. I appreciate you taking the time to share that. So how strong is your self-esteem? How do you react when someone gives you a compliment? Do you say thank you and enjoy the praise? Or do you get anxious and point out something wrong with yourself or your work or whatever they're talking about? Are you able to appreciate and praise yourself? If not, I encourage you to confront any learned prohibitions, things you were taught maybe as a child, against self-appreciation and self-praise. And I love this. A great example is sometimes as kids we're told, hey, don't talk about yourself. That's being a braggart. That's you're being boastful, and people don't like that. It's offensive. But I'm here to tell you, you don't have to go tell the world and be a braggart, but it is okay to pat yourself on the back and say, hey, I think I did a good job. I feel good about that. And, I always say this, it's always nice if you're in a group and you have healthy friends, they're likely going to come along and say, hey, you did a good job with that. That was excellent. I'm proud of you. And I think we need to all make a point to do that with one another, with our children, with our family, with our coworkers, and reach out and express that positive and help people, if they do have low self-esteem, feel like they've done something well, which can counteract those feelings. So, I like this. Crystal wanted me to put this in as a separate slide, and I appreciate it big time. So something you can do. I like things you can do. I'm nuts and bolts, but make a list of all the things that you like and appreciate about yourself. Get out that legal pad and a pen and write them down, and take the time to examine those. And in the process, look at them and practice positive self-talk about you. Hey, if it's Crystal, she can go, hey, I think I do good with the talk here. I connect with people. Write that stuff out and tell yourself and pat yourself on the back. Now, you want to take it one step further. I always say this, find a close friend, someone you trust and who knows you, and take that sheet of paper out and tell them what you think about yourself, and encourage them to do the same thing too, because it's okay to practice positive self-talk about you. Now, when you look at self-confidence is an action predictor. Now we're talking about getting things done. And so it's your reputation with yourself at getting things done. When I set out to do something, do I accomplish it, or do I usually stop? That kind of thing. So, you strengthen your self-confidence when you commit to accomplishing something important, Remember in resilience, I said, hey, focus on what's important to you, what you're responsible for. So when you do something that's important to you and you do it, you get it done, and then you you can turn around in your mind and tell yourself, hey, I did that and I appreciate the success. I feel good about that. That builds self-confidence. To strengthen your conscious feelings of self-confidence, make a long list answering these questions. What are my reliable strengths, skills, and abilities? What do I do well? What do people compliment me about? Self-concept controls your ideas about who and what you are as a person. A self-concept of professionalism is essential in today's world. Now, I threw that out here, and I'll send this to Crystal when I send the PowerPoint. I have a list of items that actions you can take to improve your professionalism. I actually do a talk on that sometimes too, on being a professional. And, it's just paying attention to detail, getting things done, sticking to task, all those professional qualities help you improve your self-concept. I did this well. I did it thoroughly, comprehensively. So this makes you less vulnerable and highly flexible, able to adapt quickly, and able to find new ways to be useful. People with an attitude of professionalism ask important questions. They show excellent problem solving skills, and they work well with others. They actually expect to find a way to have things turn out well when they're hit with setbacks. They don't quit, they dig in, they find new ways to do things, and they make things happen the way they want it to go. They actually are great to have on a team, any team, but they bring stability to chaos. When things look like it's out of control, they are a calming influence. They bring things back to reality and help people move forward peacefully. Their conduct is guided by inner values, not external values. They learn from experience and continually develop new skills. They are highly resilient. When you learn from your experiences, that's resilience at its finest. Think about how you yourself can further develop an attitude of professionalism. Now, keep in mind, healthy self-esteem, self-confidence, and a solid sense of professionalism build over time. It's a process. You may have times when old habits reappear, but your new and better habits will gradually replace them. So, as a concluding slide, when your inner strengths, your inner selves are strong and solid, they can hold up well even when others try to weaken them. Sometimes there will be people who may criticize you, call you bad names, try to tear you down, or tell you what you cannot accomplish. Strong inner selves will protect you from such comments and help you move forward in your life. Now, I hope this presentation was of value to you. We'll make sure you get it. And I'm going to turn this back over to Crystal at this time. Thank you for being here today.
Thank you, Alan. So we definitely have some thoughts and questions in the chat box. And as we go to those, Bethany, if you want to help me pull out some of those, I lift up when Alan was sharing some pieces with me about the presentation. One of the things I said to him, and it may sound funny when you hear this because of what I'm now doing, but for many, many years of my life, I struggled with that social paralysis, like not knowing what to say, which is really funny because if I was teaching something, teaching college students, teaching youth, leading a program, no problem being in front of the room when I had the content and knew what I was going to say. But in the social arena, just having regular conversations that weren't planned or content delivery, I really like, I would have no words. And so I shared with Alan, I never heard it called social paralysis, but when he said it, I was like, yes. And to be honest with you, it's only probably been in the last 10 years or so that I've been able to move past that, which is hilarious that I now do this series and the work that I do, right? But just to, I mean, just, 10 years ago, which when you get to this age, 10 years doesn't seem that far ago, I really struggled with that social paralysis. So
Hey,
I appreciate you lifting that up.
hey,
And
I'm
yeah,
sorry. I
go
like
ahead.
what you said about when you're getting ready to talk or do a presentation or interact, take the time to look at the content, what you want to say, organize your thoughts. That can help calm you down. And then when you deliver what you want to say, it comes out better. And then you can turn that cycle into, hey, I feel good about that. I'm moving in the right direction. We're not going to be shy and then all of a sudden be the greatest speaker in the world, but baby steps. The key is to be prepared, get yourself settled down and know what you want to say, and go from there and relax.
Sounds good. And that's where it's so funny because public speaking is so many people's biggest like hindrance, right? The public speaking part was fine. It was the small talk. And I see some other people posted in there too. It was the small talk where I was like, what do I do? What do I say? So baby steps. And I spent a lot of time hanging out with people who are really good at that and just, really pushing myself to do more. So yeah, the weather is always a nice topic. If you're in person somewhere, the food around a snack table was a good topic until you build up. But anyway, I appreciate the
I
lift
like
up.
that.
Bethany, what are you seeing in the chat?
A lot of good stuff. So, Alan, there's someone said that they had heard most people's inner voice or that running dialogue that's in our heads is mostly negative, wanting to know if that's true. And to kind of tie into that, someone else was saying, what causes an inner voice to be negative, but your outer voice to be positive? She'd had some observation in her family that, boy, you're bubbly and positive, but she's kind of starting to wonder if that's a posture because she's got the low self-esteem, but she's trying to present this overly positive exterior. So kind of two related questions there.
I mean, that's exactly what crossed my mind when I hear that I'm putting it out there. I'm being bubbly or talking and feeling fine about that, but that voice is trying to tear the person down. And that inner voice, I'm telling you, it's a little devil, because you've had if you think about it, as this evolved from childhood forward, maybe this stuff sticks with you. It's hard to break those patterns and beat that out of you. But the more you keep doing well, moving in the right direction, it'll start to minimize it. Now, one of the things I always like to say about that inner voice is we need to challenge it. If you heard me, I'm very clear about that. And there's ways that you can do it. If here's some examples, I'll give you a couple examples. If the inner voice, and I'll do it like this presentation. People said they liked my presentation, but it was nowhere near as good as it should have been. I can't believe no one noticed all the places I messed up. I'm such an imposter. Now, how you challenge that inner voice would be reassuring with yourself. Wow, they really liked it. Maybe it wasn't perfect, but I worked hard on that presentation and did a good job. I'm proud of myself. This was a great success. And I have other examples of that with other ways of doing things, but it's always good to hey, it's a battleground to me. When that inner voice starts acting up and I'm trying to move in this direction, I encourage people to challenge it and take it on. It's a battleground and you want to win that challenge. So you keep your emotions calm, focus on the things that you do well, keep practicing patting yourself on the back and saying positive things. So when that voice creeps up, you can say, hey, hopefully you'll get to the point where, hey, you can be quiet because you don't know what you're talking about. I feel good about myself. And that's it. So you'll get strong enough to shut it down. I didn't mean to ramble on, but that's a big one. That inner voice is active.
Yeah, for sure. And, I think that kind of ties in with some previous sessions we've had where that same urge to not accept help, right? Because that internal dialogue is no, you need to be strong on your own. You need to do it yourself. So accepting help from others, but also accepting that you are good enough, and trying maybe some mindfulness to strengthen your brain health so that it can kind of deter some of those negative thoughts as they come in. One more question, and then we'll see how we are on time. But this person was saying they struggle in feeling like an imposter. No matter how hard they work, they just feel like they luck into things. They don't deserve to be there. What are strategies to address that feeling, which I'm sure is lots of people feel that way.
Yeah, well, hey, I'm going to go back to what I just said. That sounds like that inner voice is digging in deep, and it's kind of molded a way of thinking. And again, I'm not saying this person, but in people in general, that inner voice can start to make you think, this is who I am, this is the way it is, and no matter what I do, if I start to think in a different way, it's going to drag me back down. It's going to sabotage sometimes the efforts that I have to make good things happen. So you have to just stand tall and move that inner voice out of there. I have no room for you, and that takes some work. It takes some focus, and sometimes it might take some counseling. I mean, some professional help. But if you keep at it, you will overcome. And I still like this. Make those lists of things that you do well, repeat them. And if you can get in a meditation group, a counseling group, support group, or a group of friends, make a commitment to say, hey, you know what? We're going to listen to what people have to say. We're going to care about one another, and we are going to practice positive talk about each other. So it's that's healthy friendships. And so build those relationships. If you're in one that drags you down, that's going to support that inner voice big time.
It's so good. It's so rich, right? And so, Alan, you don't even know, but this is going to tie into, we're going to share out with those who are on now a next opportunity. There's so many questions and so many ways we can go. So, but we do have to bring it to a close. But we want to share something with you all. So Bethany, Alan, and I have been brainstorming. Bethany had a thought, and we all got together and have come up with an opportunity that we want to, offer to some who do want to push things a little bit further and say, there's been some great things that, Alan has brought to us all around the sense of building resiliency, right? And all of it we can't get to in a 30-minute session. And in that thought of, having someone to bounce ideas off of and think through, we are offering, we'll call it a sort of a nuts and bolts session, calling it a Building Resilience series with Alan. Bethany and I will be joining Alan, but Alan will be revisiting some of the things that we've talked about in our Balance in Life sessions, but it will be on Wednesdays. We're looking at a 6-week series, right? And so for those who want to go a little bit further and not revisit the whole content, you kind of relook at some of the content, and then we come together, Alan will pull out some of the highlights, and then we really get into the nuts and bolts of how are we applying some of these tools and strategies? How's it working? And so this will be a 6-week series. There'll be an hour for each session on Wednesdays from 10 to 11, starting March 3rd. It will be limited because we want to have the time and opportunity for that interaction and for the feedback for each of us. And so we'll send something out, be on the lookout. So again, we'll limit it to 30, and we'll see how it goes with the first series. If it looks like there's a need and desire to offer another 6-week series following that, we can revisit that. But it ties right into what Alan said, surrounding yourself with a group of people that are going to be supportive in the space. And that is what this is about, along with, Alan, to help, I'll call it coaching, sort of help coach us in the application of these tools and strategies that he's been talking about. So we are super excited to bring that opportunity, and we'll send out registration links soon. So yes.
Looking forward to it. Yeah, looking
Perfect
forward
timing.
to it.
Yeah. So having said that, our time has come to a close for today. As always, thank you for being here with us on a Friday. If it was your first time, we hope that it won't be your last. And for all of us, we have some nuggets to take away. I typically try to lift up what I'm taking away just to put it out there. And one of the things I've heard Alan say multiple times, and more recent speakers as well, was this notion of writing things down. And so I'm going to take that. That's my takeaway. I'm going to carve out the explicit time to write the things down that I need to write down. So I hope you all have a good takeaway for the weekend. Everyone stay safe. If there's weather where you are, snuggle up, bundle up, try to stay safe, and use the opportunity while we're maybe in a little bit more this weekend to apply some of the things that Alan has brought to us today. Always real, Alan.
Hey,
always
you
good.
guys are all awesome. I can tell you that right now. I appreciate being with you. You're fantastic. Thank you for being here.
Thank you. Thanks, Bethany. All right. Thanks all. Everyone have a great weekend. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.